Why don't these panels fit? Hey everybody, thank you for watching the channel. We are at the point in the Garbage Camaro to where we're ready to start burning stuff in. Or are we? We've got panel fit, we know where everything goes, and we've got the trunk full. All the pieces are here. You can look around the shop and they're all scattered out all over the place, and some of them are mocked up and some of them are not. And we've got stuff clamped into place and screwed into place. So where do we go from here? And does everything fit perfectly? Well, it looks really good from there, right? Panel looks fantastic. There's no ripples, there's no dings, there's no nothing. It came out of the box great. Am I ready to weld it in? Absolutely not. We're not even close. And here's why. Look a little closer here. My door gap is really nice. And I'm just going to tell you, I've worked on a bunch of these second gens, and this is a better gap than a lot of finished cars, and certainly a better gap, especially up here. And you second gen guys know what I'm talking about, especially up here where it typically wows out, it typically gets wider. And you see a little bit of that, but this is a nice gap and it fits. All the style lines match up. I'm stoked. The door was my point of reference if you remember a few videos back. And by the way, thanks for watching the videos. And if you're wanting to catch up, check it out. We've got them on playlists, and all the Camaro ones are on the playlist. So if you want to go back, we talk about a fixed point of reference and where we build the back of the car from, and it's the doors. So again, I'm happy with this. This pinches together, this matches together here, kinda. Here's where it all changes. I'm not going to say it goes bad because that's relative, but we're not done. We're not ready to weld. If we look right here, the drop-off plate right here, there's a gap there and it doesn't squish together exactly right. It's a little bit proud right there, and yeah, we need to do a little bit of work on that. I've got the trunk right here, and it's a little tight right here, right? We can look at these panels, there's a gap. This doesn't exactly line up. And right here, the rear body panel, that's supposed to be a nice tight seam, and it's not. Oh my God, the body panels are terrible. They don't fit, they don't fit, they don't fit. Nothing comes out of the box and jumps on the car and fits perfectly. So I want to address this, I want to talk about this. Look at this panel. Follow me around this panel. What you're looking for in a high quality stamping are consistency around the complex stamped areas. Look down here. There's no gathers. There's no puckers. The seams are really nice. I'm feeling on the inside edge with my fingertip. These are laser cut. They're really nice, consistent stampings. This is a high quality piece of sheet metal, man. Everything looks really good. The only place that I see a gather is right here. And it was actually worse than that on the factory sheet metal panels. What I'm saying is that you can't expect the panel to fit itself to the car. You have to fit the panel to the car. And here's another thing that I want to address. When we're dealing with a door skin, maybe just putting 1/4 panel on the car, maybe just putting a taillight panel in, I'm skinning the back half of this car. So whether it's an OE panel, whether it's a junkyard panel, you're probably going to have a little bit of inconsistency between the replacement panel and the actual vehicle. So that's a given, right? That's not the fault of the panel. It's not the fault of the car. It just is. That's why we call ourselves body workers. So, you know, we're not just parts changers, right? So what happens when you're putting 15 panels on in the back of the car? If you've got inconsistency from panel to panel to panel, it compounds. And it makes everything just a little bit off to where the whole assembly needs some work. And that's just what it is. That's all there is to it. when you're rebodying a car, essentially is what we're doing with this one, then you're going to have to fit each piece individually, and you're going to have to invest the time in it. I want to be very careful and say that no matter which company that you're using, I like Auto Metal Direct because their panels consistently are of a super high quality. But when you're rebodying a car, you can't expect too much out of what comes out of the box. What we can hope for is what I showed you on that quarter panel. Consistency, nice style lines, no ripples, no waves, nice crowned areas, a high quality stamping. That's what we can expect from there. And from there, what we now have to expect is from us. And I want to walk you through some of the ways that we can sneak up on a fit with this car. So just like my door is my fixed point of reference for panel fit, so is my trunk lid. And up here, it's good. So we're not moving the trunk, but we are going to use it as a reference point. So let's look a little closer to this right here. Now, this is a wide gap. I've got some pictures of other ones that I've taken at car shows, at Cars and Coffee, out at SEMA. I want this to be factory appearing, but it's kicked way out. So here's a couple of reasons that this might be kicked out here. Now, we've got kind of an okay fit here. We'll talk about that in a second, but right here, look at these panels. This is what I took off of the car. Now, granted, it's not the same year. This is 74, and that's 71 to 73, but look at this shoulder. Look at the way it's stamped. Let me get another panel. So this is for driver's side, and the stamping looks good. This shoulder is not as crisp. This one doesn't matter as much because it doesn't butt up against another panel. But this one right here, see how it's rounded over there? Now it fits great. If all I was replacing was this trunk drop-off panel, then okay, that's fine. But this is the original stamping right here. And no, it's not a dead perfect 90, but it's a tighter fold. And that's more of a radius. My point is this. If there's an 1/8 of an inch, even a 1/16 difference in that panel, and then this panel that it butts up against, now we've got, if it's an 1/8, we've got a 1/4 inch of discrepancy. And then maybe we have a difference in the way the stamping rolls under in the complex shape there, and that builds another 1/16 into it. So you see what I'm saying? It kind of exponentially compounds the problem. So the way we sneak up on these areas is to refine the fitment one piece at a time. And the way we do that is first identifying what we need to do. So right here, obviously, we need to decrease this gap. I don't want to cut a patch and weld that in. I want this to fit like it was designed to fit. The process when a high quality stamping goes into production, there's several different revisions. There's prototypes that go to the manufacturer. They come back, they get test fit against an original car, and good quality panels are made to fit and interchange with original panels. So I know this is not correct. So I'm going to try to refine that process and sneak up on it and draw that gap in so that it's not quite a pronounced thing right here. And I'm going to make some markings on this so I know what the heck I'm doing. And then we're going to start blowing the car apart again. And we'll one bite at a time. But we're biting from the inside out, kind of like a tapeworm. Does that make sense? Okay. So I'm just going to go around this panel and make myself some notes. This fits great. It fits good in the pillar, but it needs to be squished here. So there's some interference in behind this panel here. I'm going to make a note that needs to be tighter that way. You can't read that, but I can. I'm left-handed, sorry. I make no excuses. This is good, so this is okay. Down here we're good. We're fitting nicely here. This right here needs a little help. So I'm going to, and it's mostly on the inner, the trunk drop-off right there. And that's probably just a little bit of hammer doll. Pop it in, and all that stuff. So, take my trunk brace out. And that needs to come that way. But from about there is good. The quarter looks great. The taillight panel, there's a bit of a gap there, so it needs to come up. So I'm going to make an arrow that way. And then when I pull the panel off, when I see what needs to happen with it, maybe I can address the back side of it. Because maybe this 90 right here is out. It's not allowing it to come up. Or maybe this little radius right here needs correcting or something like that. And this one, the quarter panel, needs to come that way. Because I can't do anything with this. I'm out of metal there. But I've got all kinds of opportunity on the trunk drop-off and the quarter panel to craft that fit, right? All right, I'm going to get this stuff out of my way so I don't walk on it. The one panel that I'm actually pleased with and that I'm going to leave exactly where it is the trunk floor. Everything lines up with the work that I've done on the frame rails. It falls into line up on the top, across the top there where my joint is. We're in good shape here. I've over-drilled some right there, but I'll figure that out. Anyway, so what I'm going to do, honestly, is burn the trunk floor in. That now becomes a new fixed point of reference for the taillight panel for my trunk drop-offs, and I can work against that panel. Like I said, one bite at a time, from the inside out. So we've made a couple of notes here. So that stays, this goes, Tetz screws, drills, and here we go. All right, so we're gonna make this trunk drop-off fit better, but a little bit of housekeeping to do first. This is like an intermediate panel. There's a description. It's a cross rail, and obviously there's no giant gap like that. It needs to fit there, and it needs to fit there, and it lines up with these holes here, and then it fits here. So what we're gonna do is lock this guy into place because I might have to push against it. When you look at this panel here, look how that kicks out. That might have been shipping damage. It might have been just a weirdness. I can move it easily, but that's kicking that quarter panel out, right? You know, I don't want that gap. So before I can work this, metal work it, hammer dolly, whatever you want to call it, pliers, we got to lock it in place. So, CLECOs.
Yay.
CLECOs are, if you've never seen them before, you probably have. It's a temporary pop rivet. Basically, you drill an 1/8 inch hole, and you've got these pliers that depress the little end guy, and when you release the pliers, you see how the end flares out? So, bam, it holds it in place, like so. I already got a hole drilled here. This is to keep my trunk floor. Well, it needs a little help. So we've got an 1/8 inch bit here, that way, down through the hole, and it holds those two panels into alignment. So I'm just going to do another couple reference holes across here, 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 and here, and that will lock this place in, and I'll be able to work on the ends, right? So if I get, can I get to it once? No. There. Look at that. How about that? That is so, so cool. I'm going to do one right there. Do one more, two more on the other side. CLECO's not cleeking. There it is. Cleeked. So obviously you're thinking to yourself, Kevin, why didn't you just use Tetz screws? Well, I do a lot. The only difference is that the Tetz screws, if you thread out the hole, sometimes the Tetz screws don't have a clamp or clamping force, and the CLECOs always will. So they're a super nice fab tool, and they're not that expensive if you want to look on the Webernets and your favorite tool supply stores. I'll leave those right there for now. But it's a super handy tool to have, especially when you're in a project like this where you're going to put stuff on and take stuff off and 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 put it back on again. Sometimes something like this is a nice tool to have. So I want this to fit better to this before I commit to final placement of the panel. It lines up really good, but it's not a tight fit. So where can we buy some of that fit back? We can tighten this shoulder up. I can pinch that into a tighter 90. You can see it's kind of rounded over. And at the end, same way. It could be dollied down into a tighter 90. And I'll show you how to do that also. What we're going to do first is address the trunk floor itself. Now, to take a hammer and bash that, yes, you're going to move it, but you can also round that down. I want this to look nice on the inside. So I'm going to use some techniques to tighten up that shoulder. First thing I'm going to do is get this joker out of the way. It just needs to move out of the way. I'll figure out later on if I need to dolly it around. Now I've got room right there. So in order to do a hammer on dolly technique here and actually move some metal around and tell it where I want to go, I need to have a backing. So this dolly is nice here. Get into this tight spot, which is where I'm going to start because it's the hardest place to get to. And I'm going to try and tighten that corner up. And I had my favorite hammer here, and I don't remember where I put it. It's ridiculous. It's like it's a maraca up in this gourd, and ideas are just rattling around, and they're just and thoughts go away, and so do tools. All right, so you can see what's happening here. If you can see that spectral highlight, where the light bounces off of that corner, look how it changes right where I messed around with it, right there. So now what I can do, and when you look at this, you look straight down on that, right down a little farther, right there. You can see where I've brought that shoulder in. That's what I need to do all the way up there. And what that's going to do is bring that lower panel in. Remember the gap down here? We don't want that. We want this to fit tighter. It already fits, but we want it to fit tighter together. So we're going to start with this, and I'm going to do that. That, all the way up. All right. I've got the shoulder tightened up, and now this flange, I need to move that in a little bit. When I'm looking straight down on it, I can see the quality of the line that I put into it. So. All right, let's test fit. All right, that's already a better fit, but it's high right there, and that's a big rounded over goofy corner, but it's also not tucked in right there. That's where my fit is goofy, but overall, I know that brought that in. All right, so I'm gonna hit that. All right, better. So now, I'm fine with that. I've moved it a little bit. We're going to now do the same thing on the trunk drop-off, and then like that. What I don't want to do is set this on the concrete and goof it up that way. So I'm going to get something softer so I don't smash all this lovely E-coat and have to go ahead and paint these silly things before I put them in. Give me a sec. Kevin, why do you save old pieces of carpet and put them up on the shelf? This is why. All right, so we can see this dolly. This is a nice palm dolly, and there's a bunch of different shapes on it. This is the shape I want. You can see that tight 90. You can see this nice rounded over edge. So we're going to do that, and then just tap, tap, tap. Put the earplugs in so I can't hear anything. Oh, right there. On the top of the leg. When I weld this together, I can always bend that back, I can always clamp it, CLECO it, get it to be a nice flush fit there. But what I'm after is a fit to the shoulders here. There. All right, so that's a better fit. I'm looking for places I still need to improve. I'm looking straight down on it, and I've got about a 1/16 in some spaces. Right here, maybe a little more action right here. And right at the end, right there. I don't care for that. You can even see it. You can see how it's bulged out. And just that little bit's going to keep it from fitting the way I want it to fit. So, find my tool of choice. That'll actually fit in there. Changed. All right, that's feeling better to me. All right, we're going to roll with that. So now I'm going to clamp this in place again, and we're going to test fit the quarter panel on this side. The truth is we got to do both sides anyway. Obviously we got to do both sides because it's all right, so for the most part, it's better. So the hammer. All right, so I'm way happier with that. All right, so that's better. Another elephant in the room is this piece right here. I think that might be holding us out. Is it? I don't know. I might have to get in behind there. Mr. Dolly, what can I do? Can I go back here? Put that there. Okay, yeah, I can. Sometimes they just need a little more love. All right, so I'm going to CLECO up here just to hold that in place. If I can find my CLECO pliers. Yeah, right here, okay. Where are you? You're right there. All right, that's more or less where that goes. Now let's look at down here where we've made some room. So in and around the trunk drop off right there, now it cups all the way in, right? That receives that nicely. But this is part of my quarter. Remember that piece? This piece that I bent around from the cross sill? Look, bam, interference. So how am I going to deal with that? I know. I'll cut it off. Because it's also interfering with my... Yeah, cut it off, Kevin. Cut it off. I'm going to get my sleeve snips. All right, so now I can go all the way in there. I need to get a little more off of there. Now, the silly sucker's tucked in. Bash on it with your hands, dummy. That's what I wanted. Right there. Okay. So with that, now I'm going to check my trunk fit, make sure that this isn't kicked out at a goofy angle. And it's not horrible, but it's not good. That needs to come in. I'm going to hold that. Now we're going to test fit that tail panel again. I'm going to have to temporarily replace my cleakage with some Tetz screws. Because technically, two pieces cannot occupy the same physical space at the same time in the same place.
It's science!
What I'm doing is lining up these bumper holes with the inner trunk floor. Like so. And I've got my reference point here, so I'm going to use Mr. CLECO, line him up. All right. Now we can take a look at what we've got to play with down here. Okay, so look how much, and this was about the same as the other side. But can you see how much more adjustment room I've got in that gap? Right? Yeah. Step back a little farther and see. I've still got to come in this way. This is giving me all kinds of options. When I push that in, I can get that pretty dang close. But I've got work to do there. I might can be able to, okay, so hang on. Adjustment there. That bought me some room. Where are you hanging up, brother? All right, so there's a piece of weird metal in here. I'm going to make a mark on it with my sharpoir. And now we'll pull that tail panel off again and see what we can do about that little place right there. The thing about Clecos is you gotta follow the rules and use the right pliers. In order to use the right pliers, you have to be able to remember where you put them. God. All right, I'm not even gonna look at this thing. We're gonna look at this little discrepancy right here. So this probably serves some form or function, but it's given me grief. So what I'm probably going to try and do is dolly that flatter. And you guys out in Camaro land might be saying, no, that's the Dumaflager curve. I'm going to look on the other quarter panel, see if that Dumaflager curve is on there. It's less pronounced on the other side. So I'm feeling pretty good about flattening this piece out. Because it's in my way. It's in my way. Move. Move!
Yeah, no, I'm living in a nightmare.
I'm going to try that. This is actually separated right there, so that'll continue to do that. I'm going to get rid of a little bit more of that skin right there. All right. We're a little crazy right there, but I'm going to get in there. Actually, what I'm going to do is take a look at that. What are we still running into? This piece right here is bugging me. See how that stands out? And it's not flush to there. Two different panels, right? Well, no, it's actually the same panel. But anyway, it's in my way. Not anymore. It goes there. And I think that helps us. I'm gonna let's give that a little love right there. All right, let's see what's happening down here in the zone, you know. So this will line up perfectly right there. Ooh, I'm liking that gap. I'm liking it a lot better. All right, so I'm gonna put a clamp in there, get some pressure on it. Okay. All right, now we take a look. I'm gonna put one more clamp on there. All right, when we look at it like this, now we're seeing a consistent gap. It's still too big. Still needs to fit a little more flush right in there. But we've got our complex shape back. This style line right here is what we want to line up, and then, but that's a 1/4 inch-ish. It just needs to come in more right there. And this trailer park up in here is looking better. That's a pretty pronounced peak. Now that looks, it just looks like it needs to come out. I might get my stud puller and pull that line out, line that up perfectly. This gap in here looks really nice. What I'm trying to do is have a nice relaxed fit before I put pressure on it. Sheet metal is amazing, and you can put it into all kinds of weird positions, lock it into place with a welder, and it'll listen to you, it'll hold still. But I want a fit that's nice without a whole lot of stinking pressure. And we're getting closer. We spent a little while on this, but not much. So that's got to go in. I want that a little more flush. And we've got to buy some room back in here somewhere. All right, then. Ow, you silly. Forgot about that one. So I've got to buy a little more space right here. And that's easy. We're going to use a dolly and just do the same thing we did on the trunk drop-off and just kind of massage that in. By buy a little more real estate right there. I found a place that's giving me trouble. So the quarter's got to come off again carefully. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So this whole rear body panel's got to come back this way. And it's interesting because if you draw, looking for a straight edge, here we go. If you draw a straight line across here, you can kind of see where I need to buy some real estate, right? Look at that, straight down, look at down, right there. Straight edge shows me. So literally, I can buy back 1/4 of an inch to 3/8 right there. What that's going to do is get that panel flush, and it's going to tighten up that gap because it all comes in. And then, I'm going to set that right down there on the floor, we can have a little more room to dial it in. Yeah.
90% of the time, I have no idea what the I'm talking about.
Okay, so there's a fold right there. If you look really closely at that, that's the manufacturing process. There's some room for me to adjust right there. All right, so I got to figure out how to do it. All right, so up until now, I've been able to just move metal around, maybe trim some stuff off here and there, and really sneak up on the fit and get a lot better job. But right here, what we've got is it's a kind of a stamping dilemma. You can see that piece is folded over and probably welded in some form or fashion. Look at that shape. That's a really complex shape to make. It's a super tight 90 right there. And with our straight edge, we know the room and the real estate we've got to buy. So I'm fine with every once in a while having to do a pie cut and buying back some room. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to do a slice with my cutoff wheel right down on the silver line, kind of on the inside of it, and I'm just going to buy some real estate back there. I just want something behind it. And that brought us flush to our little Sharpie line. I can fill the rest of that up with the magic glue gun, but let's try that again. Let's put this back on and let's try that again since we bought back that room. When I look at it like that, I can see that straight line right across there. Yay! Now we can assess. Nothing's changed up here. This is fine. That can come up a little bit. And this is what a wise man told me about these second gens. These down here, the inner holes for the trunk panel and the outer body panel need to line up. So I need to do a little better there. So if I come up there, that'll line those up and it'll close that gap up a little bit too. So I know what I need to do there. This is looking much better. That's much flusher across there. And our shape is back here. We've got a nice crown shape there. Is the gap larger than I want? Of course it is. But I can do some more massaging here. I can reshape that and close in on it. But the big picture is that I've spent about 2 hours doing this. And already we've got a much better fit. We've bought back all the room. It's not 3/4 of an inch down here. It's consistent. And, you know, some trimming, some dollying, a little bit of slap hammer action right there. The big win right here is this right here. So we'll leave that alone and start to build back the other side. I'm going to put a screw in here in place of the CLECO so I can close my trunk floor. And yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about this. So we're looking way better on this side. We're going to take what we learned over here and apply it over here. Starting with the trunk drop off and buying back some room, blah, 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 blah. Here we go again. Taking stuff apart again. All right, so we bought some room here. Once this is in the right position, we've got, it's a nice gap. We brought everything in and stuff like that there. So the other thing is this panel here, with the rear body panel's got to come in. This is kicked out. So it's also kicked out over here. Right about here, there's a bit of a gap in between the rear body panel and this flange here on the trunk floor. So we know that these pieces here got to roll in somewhat. So we're going to ask it super nicely with a big giant block of wood and a big dang hammer. I can switch hands sometimes, but when I'm dealing with something like this, I want to use my left hand. I'm left-handed, so I don't want to miss, is what I'm saying. So we're just going to roll this in gently with the hammer. right, so we adjusted that. Now, same as the other side. I'm going to put a straight edge here, and I'm just going to look. So right there, this is bulging out a little bit. It's not as bad as the other side, but I'm still going to make a reference mark, just so I know that I know. And we might have to buy that back. This one would be a lot easier to tap that way if we need to. But we're going to try stick that quarter in place and see what happens. So you're not wrong. I know what you're saying. I don't have the outer wheelhouse on. No, I don't. I'm going to get my fit to the back end, then I'll put the wheelhouse on, and if it is goofy, then I know where to adjust on the wheelhouse. It should be pretty straightforward. But this is going to give me my placement on the back side, then I can worry about this right in here. Make sense? All right. All right. There, just see, needed to go over that. Back on here, because it was not fitting great. Now, it's just weird, man. There's just a lot going on. There's a lot going on. It's like all the things swimming around in my head. There's a lot going on in there, too. I'm just going to do this. I just want that, kind of where I know it's going to be. Not so much worried about that. I want to put this right here. I want to see what's going on with this part. I lost a clamp. Okay. And again, I think we've got some interference stuff here. So I might trim that off right from the jump. Seems to fit pretty good up in here. I don't know if you can see that. Right down in there. They got to be clamped together, but these two panels, drop off and the quarter panel, they fit pretty okay. They're pretty flush, right? So I'm not dissatisfied with that. I'm going to make a mark here. Oh yeah, the Sharpie is completely left the chat. So anyway, we'll do that. And on this side of the trunk drop off, ooh, ah, hey, hey, hey. Right in here, it's a pretty nice fit. That area that I marked right there, see the arrow? It's no longer an issue. Isn't that fun? Okay. So I'm going to make this adjustment with my snips right here, and then we'll try and fit that rear body panel. I'm a little worried about this guy too, because I know I need a flush fit there, so trim that off. All right, where are you? There you are. Okay. Don't make me sad, panel. Now what you got for me? So the panel's in this way a lot. There. All right, all right. Where's the hole? There it is. Cleconess. All right, so we're getting kicked out here. It's better, way better across the bottom, probably because we bought us back some room in the inner wheelhouse. So when I pinch these two panels together here, see that? It can come back in. So we're within adjustment there, right? But up here, it's fixed, it doesn't fit. Come and check it out on the inside of this panel. So up into this interference fit and all the junk right there. I don't know if you can see it. Put my screwdriver down where, oh. The issue that we're having, where are you? Right down there where my screwdriver is. It's got to go in there. The rear body panel. Okay, right here also. See how it's touching there? There's a big gap there. We've got to buy some more clearance along the edge of the trunk floor where it meets the cross sill. It's amazing what we can see when we're actually looking. That sounded strange. The heads of these screws, I'm thinking, are holding off my fit here. And I need to come inboard towards the front of the car with this. But look here. This whole top piece here, I never would have thought about that. But we're touching there. Now if I move that in that way, then of course that buys me room here. When I take these screws out and actually have these two, the cross sill and the trunk floor welded in, that's going to buy me in another eighth, oh, heck, almost a quarter of an inch. Can you see it down in that gap? It's pretty gnarly. Right down in there. You see that? Screw head? Yep. Yep. So I'm going to move this back ever so gently with a ginormous freaking hammer, and the rest of this trunk floor on this side, and that is going to get me, because we're pivoting off of this point here. This is happy. This is kind of a nice place. I've got it around here. My little arrows tell me that the quarter panel, that flange needs to be tipped up. But this right here, it's actually pretty dang good. So I'm going to do something right here while I'm inspired. I'm not mad at this fit at all. When I do something like this here, even with it unattached, maybe not, maybe not. We're a little bit closer there. But anyway, regardless, I know this has got to go in. I've got to buy some more clearance along here, here, not so much here, but here, and I'm going to beat on it again within an inch of its life and make it submit. Try it again. Okay. That's better already. I like that. All right, so that's going to be fine right there. And that screwed up my fit right there. So I've got a sandwich in there that I got to trim down. Whatever's in between this panel and the quarter panel, that's just causing me some interference. We just got to get rid of it. Whatever that is, I'll find out. So our panels can talk to us sometimes. This might just be from rubbing. We can see witness marks right there where things aren't exactly, as they say, G-hawing. But what's happening right here, it's rubbing all the E-coat off right there. That's where I'm having that, that's what's the standout. Now what is that hitting? Come up over here. That's hitting that. So I was thinking that this was giving me a problem. And I think it is too. A little bit of raised area there. And that looks like a gather, doesn't it? I don't know. All right, I'm going to deal with that. So all that flanoozling and slabashing and finessing and all that type of stuff got us a decent, remember the gap that was in there? It was big on the bottom, and it's not. Is it perfect? No. Have I got my perfect crown shape there? No. We've got some sneaking up to do. But look at that. Look how much better that is. We applied the same adjustments that we used on the other side to this side, and it's so much better. This much at a time. You know what I mean? So my goal for this particular session here is to get these parts and panels to the point where when I weld them in, I can do other adjustments and fine tune them. It was way off before. And it just wasn't ready. We just needed to tighten up some gaps and things like that. So that said, that's good. The other side looks good. It's a process. Are you tired of me saying that? Put that in the comments below. It's a process, but it is. It's a process. So anyway, I'm going to call this a little bit of a win right here. Oh, there's something I wanted to show you. Yeah, come this way. So take a look. I'm going to go from the other side and get a light, but look at the transmission tunnel and look at the hole. Look at that shifter hole. I had a smart guy tell me that knows F-body Camaros, and I was really kind of just amazed at the jankiness of this. But apparently, the cars that were selected for manual shift, some of them were torched out on the assembly line. And there was nasty openings. What the fella told me was to look for pulled and torn out factory spot welds. Look at that. Look at that is. It's a factory spot weld. There's another one torn out, another one torn out, another one torn out. My 3 fingers apart, factory spot welds? Yeah, guess what? So another one, there's other factory that might have looked. And this right here, this is factory seam sealer. So, yeah, right around here. Do you see where I'm going with this? The data plate, and even the VIN, as far as I can tell, don't tell me whether this is a 4-speed or an automatic car. There's a lot of clues that say that it was a 4-speed car. The grommet on the firewall, the steering column without the shifter on it, of course, floor shift cars, whatever. The bell crank assembly that's still on the cowl. And then this. So this car was a manual shift. It just was. Prove me wrong. All right, so what do we know? What was the use of that 3 hours of my time, 4 hours of my time? It was to confirm not only were we starting in the right place, the trunk floor is in the right spot, that we can finesse these panels enough to get nice gaps and then finish out the process of the body work without messing up the exterior, because the exterior of the panels looks great. Can I do my final fit with this thing CLECO'd in place and zip screwed in place? No, we can't. We have to now start welding. And I was watching another guy's channel, The Questionable Garage, Jared over there. He's doing a B-body Mopar, again with AMD panels. And what he's doing is he's pinning with his welds at the front, establishing his door gap, and then he's working his way back, finessing the trunk gaps, taillight panel, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to follow that same recipe because it made a lot of sense to me. I've done similar things before, but it's kind of an interesting way to talk about where to start and how to massage this whole thing into place. So what we're going to do right now is take a break for a cold snack and say thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thanks for hanging in there with us with the Garbage Camaro and with all this other stuff that we're doing. I'm having a blast with the YouTube channel, and thank you guys for coming along, and I appreciate your comments. I really appreciate the snarky comments because they're just fun, so bring it on. Anyway, I hope everybody does well. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you on the next episode.